So you want to start programming, or perhaps just trying to gauge how difficult it will be to learn programming and if your lazy butt would be bothered to even try. Or perhaps you're just lazy and browsing through YouTube and don't really care about programming at all. Whoever you are and whatever you're here for, well, here's an idiot's guide to programming. 1. Instructions. Instructions are the essential building blocks of programming. Since computers are just better calculators and they don't really do anything on their own, you have to tell the computer very specifically what to do. For example, adding 1 and 1 together. That is an instruction. Or tell the computer to show something on the screen. That is another instruction. Or you can go very complex and ask the computer to generate a neural network or something. That may take a couple of commands put together. And this may sound pretty easy and not too bad. But remember, there are limits to what a computer can calculate. Like your mother's weight. 2. Variables. You can think of variables kind of like a jar. You put stuff inside of it and you label it. And you can pull out stuff from inside the jar for later use. For example, you can put a single letter inside it. Or maybe 2 letters. Or perhaps even an entire word. Or maybe you want to go crazy and put numbers inside it. Nice. 3. If statements. If statements work exactly the way you'd think. If one condition is true, do this. If not, do that. So something like if 1 plus 1 equals 2, show on the screen the computer is normal. And if not, the computer has had one too many blunts. Or maybe it's just a floating point error. You never know. But in most cases, 1 plus 1 does equal 2, so that's kinda boring. So to make it a little interesting, we use the variables or jars from step 2 and put conditions on that. Like if A is bigger than B, do this and that, and so on. Yes, like that. Well done. 4. Functions. Functions are just a part of code that's sectioned off and saved so that it can be used later with just one line. As a simple example, if you want to find the factorial of a number in many different parts of code, you'd write the code for finding the factorial, define it as a function, and that's it. You can reuse it in any part of your code with just one line instead of having to write the whole thing again. So functions on its own, it's no different from any other bits of code, and kind of pointless, but the reusability of it is what makes it useful. Kind of like a small penis that has unbelievably fast reload times. 5. Loops. Loops are kind of like if statements with some memory issues. It just repeats a section of code until either a condition is reached or the loop has looped a certain number of times, which is basically just a condition in and of itself. So if I were to put my real life into code, it would be an infinite loop, watching YouTube, if I'm feeling productive, work, if not, take a nap and forget how unproductive I am. So you learn all of this and you finally feel ready to write your first actual program. You utilize all the knowledge you learned, pop some ifs and elses, maybe copy some fancy code from Stack Overflow you found, and if you're generous enough, you comment your code here and there, spending 5 hours debugging, and when you're finally finished, you show off your accomplishment to your parents only for them to ask why you're playing games on the computer again and why you're not a doctor.